One more welcome back to all of you amazing artists out there. It's your art teacher, Mr. Guera, and today I am back to teach you how to create this ridiculously radical recycled robot using geometric shapes. And paired with this work of art is Buzu trading card number 4, Geometronitron. Talk about having it all together. This mighty machine gathers discarded parts and uses them to upgrade itself into a bigger, badder, better robot. He gets the knowledge classification for being so smart in the field of robotics. And since he is a robot, he also gets the technology classification. For this project, you're going to need some newspaper to protect the surface you're working on. You're also going to need a piece of cardboard. This piece I've cut to 9 inches wide by 12 inches long. Also, a container full of water. I'm using this old yogurt jar. We're going to want to color the robot, of course, so I'm going to start using these metallic paints. It gives the robot this metal look. Now, don't worry if you don't have metallic paints. Use regular paints, and if you don't have regular paints, go ahead and use markers. You're also going to need a paintbrush, some paper towel to dry off your brush, a sheet of paper, just a regular sheet, and that's for our blueprint. Also a pencil, as well as a Sharpie marker, or any black marker, and a piece of chipboard. Now this one comes from the back side of a used cereal box, hence the recycling. Then you're going to want to get out a pair of scissors, keep those handy, as well as a bottle of glue. Some extra items that you can have to make this project a little bit more interesting are something small to trace, like a dime. You can also use a hot glue gun, but with parent supervision, of course. And you're going to use that glue to glue on these metal pieces like washers, bolts, frame hangers, anything that you have that will add a little bit of detail to this project. As always, if you are in need of any of these art supplies, you can always click on the Amazon links that I've provided in the description below. So yeah, geometric, as in geometry. Pretty much any shape that can be measured by its sides, its angles, its circumference. I'm talking about squares, rectangles, circles, triangles, stars, even trapezoids, and hexagons. Pretty much any shape that you can think of that has a name, it's going to be a geometric shape. Geometronitron's first special ability is Junk Drop. When Buzu attack, it throws recycled parts on them. Alright, so let's start off by covering up the surface that we're working on with some newspaper. After all, we don't want to get any paint or marker, or really any art supply, unnecessarily on our desks, our tables. And then, go ahead and get out that cardboard piece, the jar of water that you've gotten, and if you're using paint, time to get that out. I'm going to be using this turquoise colored metallic paint, and now that I've got my brush, we're going to cover up this entire piece of cardboard. It's going to serve as the supportive back of our artwork that we're going to put together. Now, since we're working on a very large piece of cardboard, I want you, if you have this option, to get out a brush that is wide. By giving your cardboard piece these wide brush strokes that go up and down, nice and evenly, with a lot of patience, you're going to cover up the cardboard faster, and your brush strokes are going to be a lot more even. So, wide brush for a wide surface. As you can see, the video has been placed in fast forward motion, and I'm doing my best to cover the entire surface, and it looks like later on I'm going to need to put a second coat, but for right now, I'm going to drag my brush back and forth on the bottom of my water jar to really get all the paint out of my brush. After I've completely and thoroughly cleaned my brush bristles, I need to get out that piece of paper towel and blot the brush bristles dry. Just let the water soak into the paper towel so that it's ready for use with the next color, whatever color that might be. After you're done, go ahead and place your brush to the side. Let your cardboard dry. We'll be coming back to this later. Continuing on with our project, it's time to get out a sheet of paper and a pencil. Because what we're going to do now is we are going to draw a robot using only geometric shapes. Now, the purpose of this drawing is to create a sort of robotic blueprint that we can follow later when we cut out the various geometric shapes and then glue them on to that cardboard background that we just painted. So I'm going to start with this trapezoid that faces down, a thin rectangle on top, a square underneath it, 2 circles for robot eyes, and a rectangle with vertical lines for a mouth. Semicircles on the side of my robot's head with triangles and circles on the edges for antennas. So if you're following along with me and creating the exact same robot I am, or even if you're creating your own unique original geometric robot, the key thing is to remember that as you're creating, just stick to the basic geometric shapes that you already know. If you build a robot piece by piece, head, body, arms, and legs, just use simple shapes and you'll do great. Don't forget that the video is going to speed up here and there, so as always, if you need extra time, go ahead and pause the video so that you can go at your own pace and then restart the video whenever you're ready to continue. Going on to the arms, I'm still using geometric shapes. I'm filling in with cool details. It's time for the legs, so I'm going to start drawing some triangles that face down. 3 at a time for each leg, just to give it that extra robotic look. And then at the bottom, I'm going to put some rectangular feet with little circular heels, and of course erase that little line that's on the inside of the circle. And then I'm going to take out my black Sharpie marker and trace on top of my pencil lines. This part's not really necessary, but I like to do it just to help the robot pop up, out, and off of the paper. Okay, so I just wanted to stop for a second. If you're struggling at all with putting geometric shapes together into something that resembles a robot, don't worry, I've got just the thing for you. I've already pre-constructed 3 different models of geometric robots just for you. So if you would like to print them out and color them or use them as models for your project, I would go ahead and go into the description where you can find links to get these printable downloads for yourself. But just for the record, I'm always much more interested to see what you can come up with as opposed to what I can come up with, because I've already seen that. Okay, let's go ahead and get back to the art project. Now that you've drawn your geometric robot, it's time to get out the chipboard. So for me, that was the back of the cereal box, but wherever you get it from, whether it's a frozen pizza box, a cereal box, or somewhere else, it's time to get it out. And using your drawing as a reference, try and break down the geometric shapes of your robot, starting with your robot's head. So I've got the trapezoid, a couple of rectangles, a square, definitely a few triangles. Now the key here is, as you're drawing your geometric shapes onto your chipboard, just try to get them about the same size. They don't have to be perfectly the same size, just try to get it close. Then I'm going to bring out my dime because I'm a huge fan of using household objects as traceables. So I'm going to trace that dime 2 times to get these perfect circles. That's totally optional, of course. Now that you've drawn all of your geometric shapes onto your chipboard, it's time to carefully cut them out. After you have them all cut out, it's time to paint. So I'm going to use this red metallic acrylic paint, a jar of water, and my paintbrush. And I'm using this red because it contrasts very nicely with the metallic turquoise of the background that I painted previously. Now when you're ready to switch colors, be sure to drag your brush bristles on the bottom of your water container and then blot your brush dry using the paper towel. Using different colors for each of my geometric shapes that make up my robot's head, I can place them one by one right on top of my drawing, and this is definitely my favorite part. Placing my robot's head back together is kind of like assembling it piece by piece in a colorful way, like a puzzle. Having completed my robot's head, it's now time to work on the body. And we're going to create this robot's geometric body in the same way that we did the head, piece by piece, drawing first on the chipboard and then cutting those pieces out and then placing them together right on top of my drawing. This is a great way to make sure that I haven't forgotten any shapes, and also helps me to visually check the colors that I'm using to make sure that everything is kind of spread out. Now, as you're completing your geometric robot, whether it's this design or your own design, I want you to feel free to choose whatever colors you think look best for your robotic creation. As you finish painting each geometric shape, make sure that you are giving yourself plenty of time, no reason to rush, and that you also give your artwork plenty of time to dry. Geometronitron's second special ability is Geometric. This is when it pretends to be falling apart, but then it attacks. Okay, so we talked about how pretty much any shape with a name is a geometric shape, but does that also include the 3D variety? We're talking about cones, cubes, and spheres. Are these also three-dimensional shapes? Well, the answer is yes, yes, they are. They have curves, straight lines, angles, all things that can be measured. Measurement means math. Math means geometry. Geometry means geometric. Okay, let's get back to the art. Okay, now this next part may be optional for you, but as an artist, you'll have to decide for yourself. I'm looking at the cardboard piece that I originally started with, and I'm going to use the same color that I used before because I can see the brown of the cardboard still peeking through the paint. So I'm going to take a little bit of time and give the background a second coat of this metallic turquoise to really make it pop, to really make it shine. After I've given it a nice second coat, I'm going to go ahead and set it aside to let it dry again. Now it's time to work on our robot's arms and its legs, so let's get out our chipboard. Now I'm going to use that dime again to trace my circles. Feel free to do this freehand if that works better for you. And from what I'm seeing for my arms, I'm going to need 4 circles, 2 for the hands and 2 for the shoulder areas. Also, I'm going to use my pencil to sketch out the large and small rectangles that also make up my arm. After I've sketched everything out and cut the pieces out, it's going to be time for me to once again repeat the steps that I did before for the head and the body of my geometric robot and start painting. I'm going to go nice and slow, and remember, if you do have brush options as far as different sizes, then I highly suggest you using small brushes for the smaller pieces and bigger brushes for the bigger pieces. Depending on which brush you're using, you could be saving space, saving paint, or saving time. All right, now it's time for that favorite part that I mentioned before. I'm going to put my robot's arms together like puzzle pieces just to make sure it all fits into place. And last but certainly not least are my robot's geometric legs. Now for this, I'm going to suggest a unique technique. I'm going to draw 1 triangle, 1 rectangle, and 1 circle. After I've cut them out, I'm going to use that very shape that I just drew and cut out as a stencil, as a template. This is going to help me to keep these geometric shapes about the same size as I go ahead and create. So as you can see, for the legs, I'm going to need 6 triangles, and for the feet, I'm going to need 2 rectangles and then 2 very small circles. And those circles are going to go right on top of the feet, almost like this robot could roller skate around. All right, time once again to get that brush out. I hope that you're remembering also to clean your brushes. Very important to take care of your art supplies. So before you change to a new color, make sure you're dragging your brush bristles back and forth along the bottom of your water container. And once you have cleaned it, make sure to have that paper towel handy so that you can blot dry your brush bristles. Okay, so once you've painted all the details, put them into place and check that they fit all right and look great, it's now time to put everything together on our painted cardboard background. Okay, so we've talked about geometric shapes and all of their names, but what about shapes that aren't geometric? I'm talking specifically about freeform shapes like this one, and this one, and this one. Well, obviously these shapes don't have any names. Well, I mean, like you could give them a name. Like this one is Woogadoogle, or this one is Mixie Plixie Magabaga, or this one is blah 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 blah. Those shapes have those names, but that doesn't mean that they're geometric. So those are organic shapes. They're loose, they're flowing. They're really hard to measure and technically not geometric shapes.
Geometronitron's third special ability is the electric slide. It sends a shocking energy right across the ground.
All of your painted pieces have dried. It's time now to get out the bottle of glue and the painted cardboard background that we started with. Using your drawing of the geometric robot as a reference or blueprint, begin gluing all of your pieces down where they belong. As you're doing this, I highly suggest starting with the robot's head and working your way down to its feet. As with all art projects that require gluing, make sure not to apply too much glue. Remember, raindrops, not puddles. And also, it's helpful to hold each piece firmly in place for a 10 count. This will help to ensure that all pieces stay in place long after the project's been completed. Now that you've got all your pieces down, congratulations! You're at a stopping point for your robot. But if you have an adult around who is ready and willing to supervise and or help, you can now add all of those extra metal odds and ends to your metallic masterpiece. Using a hot glue gun is serious artistic business, so I'm going to say again to only do this part with adult supervision, please. Using the hot glue gun, carefully squeeze out a small drop of glue and place your washers and bolts onto the background areas all around your robot. And you did it! Bask in the glory of its geometric greatness. Well done. Fantastic work.
Ready for a robot reading? Check out our video, Mr. Guera Reads, Boy Plus Bot. Link in the description below. Ready to read writing on recycled robots? Don't forget to download and print the character sheet for Geometronitron. Link in the description below.